deny the enemy the ability to understand how well their attacks did. Now, the Israelis have all sorts of overhead capability, satellite capability, and the U.S. certainly is helping them with that. But the question here is how much damage is going to be done.
Listen to pictures again?
And what's going to be the effect.
Got it. All right. Are we going to go to live pictures? I'm being told we might have some live pictures. Okay. All right, Steve, we just lost the live pictures there. Apparently, we're seeing signs of more missiles coming into to Israel. And I was trying to look up a text message that I got from a former national security advisor that was giving some more details. His background is Iran, talking about everyone from the chief of staff of the armed forces inside Iran to the Iran Revolutionary Guard, CIC. Also, I'm looking at chief advisor to the Ayatollah. I'm looking through just the list of everybody reported killed in these strikes on behalf of Israel. When you look at all the high-level commanders here within the military, your thoughts on the impact here, that, you know, the mullahs can't do what the mullahs want to do if they're losing all major leaders of the Revolutionary Guard, right? This could be crippling for them.
That's Israel's hope. We don't know that that's actually going to be the case. So the Israelis have been very deliberate in how they're going about this, we'll call it a campaign. They've gone after military leaders, IRGC, Quds Force, Navy, Air Force. They have not hit any of the regime players yet. So nobody that's a quote-unquote elected official, none of the religious figureheads have they gone after. If they do, it'll probably be as a result of the kinds of attacks that we're seeing now in Tel Aviv. If population centers are hit, you can be assured the Israelis are going to consider whether they go after the regime leadership beyond just military. So that's why this tonight is so important, and we'll be able to see how far does this escalate, or do the Israeli defenses do pretty well, and it's enough that they can continue their campaign. But remember, Kira, that the Iranians have one of the largest arsenals and magazines in the world of ballistic missiles that can hit Israel.
And the firing continues. Steve, stay with us. We're going to take a quick break as dozens of Iranian ballistic missiles have been launched into Israel, the Iron Dome intercepting them. We do have word, though, of injuries within these ongoing Iranian attacks inside Israel. We'll get to that after a quick break. Stay with us.
Whenever, wherever news breaks, it's so important to always remember that lives are changed.
What will you find on all over-the-counter or OTC medicine packages to help you choose the right drug and use it safely? The answer? The drug facts label. This label lists the medicine's active ingredients and purpose, how much to take, and warnings you should know before using it. Remember, even OTC medicines you buy without a prescription can cause side effects you don't want. So follow the information listed on the drug facts label. For more information, visit fda.gov/drug facts label. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for kids, teens, or young adults. It's just not.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals and volatile organic compounds into your body.
And nicotine, the same highly addictive substance found in regular cigarettes.
Nicotine can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s,
affecting learning, memory, attention, and impulse control, and priming the brain for other addictions.
Vaping products also come in kid-friendly flavors that can make them appealing to youth.
And many kids also use other drugs, like marijuana, in vaping devices.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media,
many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping, because when you talk, they hear you.
For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. I'm here to warn you about telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Some of these scammers may say threatening things like you will be arrested if you don't make payments or provide personal information. Do not fall for these tricks. These calls are not from us. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you for information or money. If you receive a call like this, hang up. Never give the caller your personal information, like your Social Security number or bank account, or send money in any form, cash, gift cards, wire transfers, or prepaid debit cards. Report the call to our law enforcement arm, the Office of the Inspector General, at oig.ssa.gov. Share this information with your friends and family.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City.
We're following breaking news here at KSL. Air raid sirens now blaring in Israel as Iran launches missiles toward the country. I'm Heather Peterson. This is Midday. Israeli Defense Forces reporting missiles incoming to Tel Aviv and central Israel. News sources reporting that at least 7 injured. IDF telling the public to take shelter until further notice. ABC's Marcus Moore reports from a shelter in Tel Aviv.
We can hear some of those explosions. There was one that was strong enough to rattle the wall a little bit here. And certainly it's very active out there. And generally, the thinking is that once those air raid sirens have sounded, that you have about 10 minutes or so to get to a safe place before one of those missiles or projectiles is believed to be a threat.
And for reaction, we're going to bring on now Rabbi Avremi Zippel. Walk us through what you're thinking right now after hearing this news.
So thanks for having me, Heather. First of all, just show a little bit of context. This is city Tel Aviv, which is experiencing most of those air raids that I was in about 48 hours ago. So it's very, very close to home. Just got back in town from a wedding. I think it's important some of your listeners understand that we're talking about two nations that are right now duking it out. One is smaller than the state of New Jersey, and one is double the landmass of the state of Texas. We're talking about the IDF engaging in preventative measures last night as the entire international community has made it very clear that Iran, the world's largest exporter of terror, will not have nuclear weapons, and multiple thresholds have been crossed, put in place by our president, by multiple international agencies. And so in response to Israel attacking nuclear sites and the homes of various military leaders, we are now seeing hundreds of huge civilian population centers being attacked. This evening, you've got the entire Israeli people underground celebrating the sacred day of Shabbat together in bomb shelters. And for all of us that are not in Israel right now, our hearts and minds are in the East with our brothers and sisters. We are adding in prayer and good deeds. The Almighty will continue to perform open and revealed miracles, and we'll get through this.
Avremi, this is Jeff Kaplan. I'm in the studio with Heather Peterson. You mentioned that you were in Tel Aviv 48 hours ago. Did you hear the warnings for U.S. personnel to let their loved ones leave the Middle East before you departed Tel Aviv?
I left Tel Aviv on Wednesday morning. At that point, there was some chatter that local embassies, when I mean local, I mean throughout the Middle East, were starting to offload some of their personnel. I will tell you that having been at a wedding in Tel Aviv on Tuesday night, there was a siren from a Houthi missile that did disrupt part of the wedding, but it was very much business as usual across the city. From what we understand now, there was a somewhat intentional effort that was aided by the United States to somewhat push off some of the nuclear talks that were happening with Iran to not make it look like danger was imminent. When I left Ben Gurion on Wednesday morning at 5 a.m., I don't think a single soul in that airport sensed that war was 48 hours away.
Are you hearing from the Jewish community here in Utah, or is the news still too fresh?
We're definitely hearing from local communities here and around the world, stepping up security measures where appropriate, where necessary. There is definitely some level of awareness that while the war is happening thousands of miles away, there might be some ripple effects here at home. But I got to tell you both, one of the things that I'm seeing most prominently, both in person and on social media, are really emotional reactions from thousands and thousands of expats who left Iran, who had Jewish families in Iran for thousands of years, that left Iran in the 70s when terror took over, who are really hoping that this is a new day for the millions and millions of citizens in Iran, that they can finally cast this coat of terror that has been upon them for decades. And many are hoping that this is a fresh start for the Iranian people. Israel is not at war with the general citizens of Iran. This is a response to ensure that the world's largest exporter of terror doesn't have nuclear weapons, and hopefully a new day for millions and millions of innocents across Iran.
It seems that this is a new level of attack that Israel is enduring from the air. 100 ballistic missiles in one volley. Reportedly, 7, we've heard 9 people are injured, no reports of any deaths. As we listen to the reporters who are in Israel, there's a sort of been there, done that feel to their reporting, like this is just another day in the life of being in Israel. Is that how the population is taking it, sitting in the bomb shelters? What's it like?
Bear in mind, Jeff, we're in month 20 just of the October 7th war. And how many air raid sirens have they heard over the past 20 months, just in the past 20 months, and then add decades and decades of regional violence that have preceded that. Having myself evacuated a wedding and gone to a safe space on Tuesday evening, there's certainly a sense of seriousness, but I would say not over concern and anxiety. This is what we have to do. We know what to do. We've done this dozens and dozens of times, and we will absolutely get through this together. And so I think kind of the been there, done that is fairly appropriate, not, God forbid, to make light of the concern, but to maintain a calm and realistic awareness and attitude around what has happened in the past, what will undoubtedly happen again in the present.
And I mean, does everyone see this as an escalation that's going to keep happening, or what do you see happening over the next few days here?
Well, that's a great question. I have no idea how to answer that question. I was as shocked as anybody else when I found out that all of this began last night, Israeli time. I do think that both in terms of the October 7th war and in terms of the global attitude that the international community has had towards Iran, I do think this is a point of no return, and this is somewhat of a larger escalation. And I want to remind a lot of your listeners that we are talking about the IRGC, we're talking about the Iranian government, the Ayatollah and his people, whose calls of death to Israel are nearly as loud as their calls of death to America, death to Europe, death to Britain. We are talking about a terror organization that is hell-bent on imposing their way of life, not just across the Middle East, but indeed across the entire world. President Trump had said they had 60 days to denuclearize, to take their nuclear program offline. Yesterday was day 61. And I think that Israel, on behalf of the international community, has finally said enough is enough. There's been a lot of chatter online. You are seeing a little bit of finger wagging from the international community about concerns of an escalation. But I think a lot of world leaders went to sleep last night and will go to sleep tonight being fairly certain that their citizens are sleeping safer tonight and in the nights to come and in the years to come, a lot safer than they have been over the past few years. This does feel like a point of no return.
It seems, or at least we've been told, the United States had no part in the Israeli attacks against Iran. Now, you are a Jewish leader in the Salt Lake community. You're a Jewish American. What would you like to see from our government, and what do you want them to do?
I think what I'd like to see for our government is a strong commitment to defending innocence. As I mentioned before, Israel is attacking military targets in the homes of military leaders. Iran is launching missiles at a city that is home to 1.2 million people. I know that multiple countries at this point, surprisingly, among them France recently, have committed to defending innocents across Israel from any sort of missile attacks that might come in from Iran. And so as a Jewish American, I do understand that there are many across this country, our country, my country, that feel that this is not necessarily our war, and I think that's a defendable position. But I would like to see a commitment that I think President Trump has reinforced on multiple occasions to defend innocent lives across Israel. If this is going to be a military-on-military target, perhaps there's space for that, but I would like to see a commitment to defending innocent lives across Israel and absolutely guaranteeing the safety of every single Jewish American here at home in the United States.
Yeah, I think we all want that. Thank you so much for joining us. That's Rabbi Avremi Zippel joining us live here at KSL News Radio. Amos Guerrero is in Israel right now as well. He shared what he's experiencing and expectations of what could happen next.
Out of the shelter, we live outside Jerusalem. Per the warnings from the Home Front Command, we spent 10 minutes, which is what you're supposed to do in the shelter with our family. There indeed were 100 drones, as I understand it, fired from Iran. Seems to be, yes, intercepted, but there also seems to be, reports are unclear, some kind of a hit or at least clouds over Tel Aviv. I think waiting for more information. I don't think it's a huge surprise as whether the Iranians would do, additional attacks in response to the initial attack. How many days this will go forward? We're going to clearly in a I don't know if I would say hour to hour mode, but as I say, we're just now in the shelter for 10 minutes, and safe to assume that will there be more air raid sirens during the night? I don't know, but we did exactly what you're supposed to do, which is go to the shelter, which is in our house. And we were there for 10 minutes with our family.
Andy Farnsworth asked if Amos was hearing where he lives just outside of Jerusalem. He's about 30 minutes from Tel Aviv. This is what he said.
You've heard explosions where you are?
Oh, yeah, sure. You hear the intercepts. Oh, yeah, sure.
Intercepts, okay. Well,
so the difference between an explosion, which is a hit, and the intercept, which is when the Iron Dome, which does the intercept, the boom from the intercept from the Iron Dome is very loud. And it doesn't even have to be in your immediate area for you to hear it. But again, in Tel Aviv, the black clouds, if I understand that's the right word in English, at this moment unclear if that's as a result of an intercept or a hit.
And for more on this story, we're now going to rejoin ABC News' special coverage.
Monitor the White House, see if Selena hears anything. But last time we helped, the president said we would help this time again. No confirmation whether that's the case, but so far, perhaps with U.S. help, the defenses against these incoming ballistic missiles have been quite extraordinary.
So, Martha, we can confirm because Secretary of State Marco Rubio said, indeed, the U.S. did provide, as he put it, exquisite intelligence to Israel. So what do you make of that? What exactly does that mean? And could that impact U.S. personnel that you've been talking about, the 40,000 plus troops in the Middle East?
Well, part of that exquisite intel was certainly targeting information and where things were located in Iran. Israel, of course, has excellent targeting information as well, but the U.S. Has assets that Israel does not have. So gave even better information, no doubt, to Israel to help. I think no matter what, Iran will blame the U.S. for this. They will say they are complicit with Israel in this, whether they provided military assets last night or not, and Marco Rubio said they did not, but providing intelligence, providing any help, and most certainly they will provide some help defending Israel. The president has said that. As Steve pointed out, we have ships, we have aircraft that can help. And last October, when Iran launched 180 missiles, drones, the U.S. indeed helped from the sea and from the air. We don't know, as Steve said, yet whether they helped right now in the past few hours, but they are out there to provide help and to provide defense for Israel, and that will no doubt continue. Kira?
Martha, thank you. Let's go now to Dr. Quanta Ahmed, Senior Fellow at the International Women's Forum and a lifetime member of the Council on Foreign Relations. Dr. Ahmed, I understand you're currently in a bunker in Israel that is under attack. Please walk us through what you're hearing, what you're experiencing, and what you've witnessed.
So, Kira, just seconds before I came on, apparently there's been alert that there is an all clear. So my friends that were in the shelter with me, I'm in an Israeli home, are able to open the door. It's becoming overbearingly warm in here. We've been in here, I would say, probably almost 45 minutes. While we were here, we could hear tremendous impact. There were two impacts and then one large reverberation. And then obviously we are getting news via WhatsApp, and we can see that there has been a strike in downtown Tel Aviv. I don't know which building. I am hearing 5 people injured, nobody critically injured at the moment, and possibly one person a little bit more seriously injured. Please verify that. This is retaliation for the remarkable operation that Israel has launched. Now it's been approximately, I'd say, about 28 hours. Our first alert was about 3:30 earlier this morning. And this is an historic time. This is a time that the map for this region is being redrawn. I would suggest, I have no confirmation, it is quite likely the United States is assisting in the defense as Iran rains down its missile cache that is functioning. A lot of the cache is not functioning. We've got reports from Iranian civilians noticing the missiles being fired, going a few meters, and then crashing immediately. We know from the operation that Israel had obviously human intelligence as well as direct involvement in setting up strike technology, setting up guided munitions, and actually decimating Iran's anti-aircraft missile from the ground, from Iranian soil, which allowed Israel to proceed the onslaught with over 200 Israeli Air Force jets that caused the damage today that you're seeing. It's worth saying that what's dropping is less likely to be an entire warhead or an entire missile, much more likely to be shrapnel, even after interception with the Iron Dome. And I know that your viewers are curious about the Iron Dome, which is a ballistic missile system. It calculates with computerized technology very accurately the trajectory of where these missiles will go and intercepts them hundreds of meters above the ground. And then there are two other defense systems that operate at much higher level, the David Sling and the Arrow, that do similar for even bigger armaments. They're not 100% accurate, but they are close to 98 or 97% accurate. And the defenses probably have never been so tested as they're being tested now, except for October 1st and April last year.
And as I got word that we were able to connect with you, we explained to our viewers you're a senior fellow at the International Women's Forum. You're also a lifetime member of the Council on Foreign Relations. What were you doing in country? What was it anything to do with just the volatile nature of what's happening right now in the region? Were you there for a conference? Were you speaking? Give us some background, Dr. Ahmed, of why you are there in Israel.
I was here, actually. Thank you. Thank you very much. I was here receiving an extremely distinguished award from the Technion Science and Technology University that's in Haifa. And so I was part of a series of events with other non-Jewish and Jewish people defending the Jewish people from anti-Semitism, like me, combating radical Islam, and a leading university. This is Israel's MIT. The president decided to give me a very nice honor. And during that proceedings, we had some meetings, but I also had a unique ability to go in and visit some operations of Rafael Systems, which is the independent Israeli weapons and security maker that is actually the maker of the Iron Dome. So we were looking as lay people at some of the missiles and some of the technology that the public is allowed to know about. It was a unique opportunity. And while I had some sense that there would be an event between Israel and Iran and Iranian retaliation, I didn't actually know that I would experience it as vividly. However, this is my fourth trip to the country since this war, since October 7th. I came a few days after October 7th to witness the atrocities of Hamas myself, including the forensic remains. And each time I request, if possible, to go with the IDF to the field of operations, which we had planned for a couple of days now. And those plans are suspended depending on how things unfold.
Dr. Quanta Ahmed, it's amazing how timing works. So glad we were able to get in contact with you. I'm glad things have calmed down where you are and that you've been able to come out of the shelter there and talk to us. Really appreciate your insight and you calling in to talk with us. Our special coverage of the dozens of Iranian ballistic missiles now launched into Israel continues right after a quick break.
At Social Security, we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security. Opening a My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal record and interactive tools tailored for you. You can see if you are eligible to receive benefits, view spousal benefit estimates, and compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates when you want to start receiving benefits. Already receiving benefits? Use your account to change your address, set up or change direct deposit, get a proof of income letter, and more. In most states, you can also request a replacement Social Security card. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense. Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Now there's a new way to take charge of your blood sugar. Introducing new Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula from the makers of the nation's best-selling garlic supplement. New Garlic helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels with clinically supported levels of garlic, plus a custom blend of vitamins and minerals, and it's odor-free. Take charge of your blood sugar with new Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the right call. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com, sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Does your job require you to be on your feet all day? Teachers, postal carriers, salespeople, and restaurant staff. Many of us need our feet to get us through the day. Hi, this is Mike with the Good Feet store, and I'd like you to hear from Donna. She's a nurse and a real customer of the Good Feet store who wanted to share her story.
Oh, I have to tell you, I have struggled with pain in my feet. I was diagnosed with plantar fasciitis. With the 3-step program, it really fits to your lifestyle. I work in a hospital. I'm a registered nurse, so being on my feet, walking throughout the hospital during the day, I am free from any type of pain. And after working a 12-hour shift, I go home and my feet do not hurt.
Whether you're a nurse or anyone wanting to enjoy work without your feet getting in the way, come see us at the Good Feet store.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Schedule your free test walk at goodfeet.com.
You're listening to continued breaking news coverage here on Midday. We've learned that Iranian missiles have hit Israel in the city of Tel Aviv. So far, we're hearing 7 people have been injured. Let's rejoin our special coverage from ABC News.
Unmatched by what we're seeing in these strikes on behalf of Israel. And number 2, let's talk about the sentiment of the people inside Iran. And you know, they can't say anything clearly under control of the mullahs, but they've got to be sitting back thinking, maybe this is a chance at regime change.
Well, in terms of capabilities, there's a significant gap between Israeli capabilities and Iranian capabilities. First, on the offensive side, you see the kind of precision strikes that Israel launches against it, all the way down to individual targeted individuals. So the commander-in-chief of the Iranian military, the head of the IRGC Quds Force, nuclear scientists and so forth. So a lot of precision based on exquisite intelligence. Not so on the Iranian side. On the Iranian side, however, they have capacity in terms of numbers. They have perhaps the largest stockpile of ballistic missiles anywhere in the region. So you're trading off precision for quantity on that side. Also on the defensive side, remember that because of the 2 strikes last year, Israel caused heavy attrition among the Iranian defensive systems. So Iran's defenses are down. They've suffered attrition. Meanwhile, in Israel, they have probably the world's most sophisticated system, a multi-layered system, which has just been described in your program, for defending Israel from air attack. So there's a capability mismatch here, which will play out on the ground. In terms of the people of Iran, look, they're pretty much shut off from outside sources and so forth. But I think the fact that the Ayatollah has come across with the statement that he has, it reminds us that even the Ayatollah in Iran has domestic political concerns. And he's speaking as much to the Iranian people, promising retribution, promising a revenge strike as he is to anyone else.
So Americans watching this play out from afar are wondering at some point, how could this impact U.S. service members overseas, more than 40,000 troops? And is it possible the U.S. could get pulled into this? What would it take for the U.S. to get pulled into this?
Well, as Martha mentioned, I suppose, I believe that the U.S. is already involved. And I believe that the Iranian leadership will treat the U.S. as a party to this conflict, both because of intelligence sharing, but also because in this instance, the U.S. is probably helping defend Israel as well. So the U.S. will come across as complicit. This means that U.S. facilities across the region, so not just in Israel, but next door to Iran and Iraq, across the Gulf and Qatar, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and so forth, and Bahrain, the Gulf states, all of those diplomatic facilities and military bases where Americans are today hunkered down because they haven't been completely withdrawn in just the last couple of days. All of those facilities will be at risk. And this is in part because Iran's classic means of retaliating against Israel, its proxies in Syria, its proxies in Lebanon, Hezbollah, its proxies with Hamas, have been so heavily damaged over the last year that Iran has fewer options for retaliation than it had perhaps a year ago.
So President Trump this morning said that Iran got hit hard and that there's more to come, a lot more. What exactly do you think that means?
Well, I think he's probably gotten a heads up from Israeli leaders that, in fact, this is not just a strike, but is, as Steve Ganyard referred to it, a campaign. And by campaign, we mean a prolonged series, a pattern of strikes over not just hours, but days. So I suspect that the White House has been given a heads up that this is more than just one strike and one counterstrike.
All right, Lieutenant General Doug Lute, appreciate you so much. And of course, your insight in times like these. Our coverage of this wave of missiles launched at Israel continues right after the break.
This is Secret Clinical Dominating Extra Stinky Stress Sweat. And this is regular deodorant. Secret Clinical in a heat wave. Oh, what a beautiful day. This is regular deodorant. Ugh, I can't. Secret Clinical with workout sweat. Let's run another marathon. And regular deodorant. How much more? Secret is the GOAT. Because nothing fights sweat better. Stay fresher under pressure.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto-pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
This is Secret Clinical Dominating Extra Stinky Stress Sweat. And this is regular deodorant. Secret Clinical in a heat wave. Oh, what a beautiful day. This is regular deodorant. Ugh, I can't. Secret Clinical with workout sweat. Let's run another marathon. And regular deodorant. How much more? Secret is the GOAT. Because nothing fights sweat better. Stay fresher under pressure.
Market volatility isn't slowing down. If you're nearing retirement, now is not the time to wait and see. Every day of uncertainty can put your future at risk. It's time to diversify. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I want you to know you can create certainty, locking in guaranteed income for life. This means predictable, stable cash flow, even in turbulent times. You've worked too hard to leave your retirement to chance. Right now, there are options to receive up to 30% upfront or annual growth of up to 10% for retirement income. That's up to $30,000 up front or up to $10,000 per year on $100,000, all guaranteed for retirement income. Don't wait. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Any examples provided are hypothetical. Annuities are issued with prospectus and sales brochures and should be reviewed carefully before funding as features and benefits vary. DBA in most states as Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
Repair or replace your roof now during S&S Roofing's huge spring sale. 12 months interest-free financing. The highest value roofing job in Utah. Dial pound 250 and then say S&S Roofing.
Emergency medical unit, respond to 102 Maple Avenue. Possible stroke victim.
When stroke occurs, you have 60 minutes to win or lose the race of your life. There are new treatments, but you must get to a hospital fast. If you suddenly feel weakness on one side, have trouble speaking, walking, or seeing, it could be a stroke. Call 911. Get to a hospital. Because how you spend the next 60 minutes could determine how you spend the rest of your life. Stroke. Know the signs. Act in time. A message from the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke.
It's 1:30 midday at KSL News Radio. Hello, I'm Heather Peterson in for Maria Shilaos. Some of the stories we're following this hour, we're continuing to track the latest on the missile attacks from Iran on Israel. And here locally, protests over ICE raids and KSL traffic. Ricky? We'll check back with Ricky in just a bit, but KSL's top local stories in 1 minute. First, we are going to go to the latest from ABC News after a quick weather check. Right now, it's 90 degrees in Salt Lake City. It's going to get even hotter as we get into Father's Day, about 98 degrees on Father's Day, and more of the same into next week. Now, ABC News.
This is a special report from ABC News. I'm Michelle Franzen. Across Israel a short time ago, air raid sirens sounded, warning of incoming missiles. The IDF says dozens of Iranian ballistic missiles targeting Israel were intercepted. Iran's response follows Israel's strikes, killing top Iranian military leaders and nuclear scientists, and also targeting uranium sites. ABC's Martha Raddatz says it marks a major escalation in the Middle East.
What you really have to watch for in these coming days is how serious Iran's assault is on Israel. Israel will respond in kind, and even worse. So whatever the Iranians do right now, whatever they do in the coming days, will be met with massive force by the Israelis. So the Iranians have to take that into consideration.
At the White House, President Trump met with his national security team. Thousands of U.S. troops are stationed in the region. This is ABC News.
KSL's top local story. Several people walked away unharmed after a helicopter crashed while trying to take off from a small airport in Woods Cross this morning. KSL News Radio's Adam Small was there and spoke to people who saw what happened.
The noise was a noise I've never heard before.
Christian Galvin and a couple of his co-workers were painting inside one of the buildings next to the helicopter pad. They decided to record what they thought would be a simple takeoff until
all hell broke loose.
They captured the very moment the helicopter's propeller clipped an open hangar door, sending it swiftly to the ground, and debris flying all over the place, including in their direction.
We saw a piece hit 3 feet from where we were standing.
But thankfully, the door they opened to watch this acted as a shield for them, allowing them to walk away unharmed and help the pilot, who ended up just as fortunate as they were. Galvin's coworker Trevor Hodge told me after what happened.
I'm just glad that everybody's okay and you know, there was somebody near it. Just a lot of luck.
Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
Doctors are encouraging people to drink less alcohol after finding out alcohol-related deaths have gone up significantly in recent years. KSL News Radio's Verl Johansson has the details.
According to a study in the Journal of the American Medical Association, researchers studied alcohol-associated liver disease death rates from 1999 to 2022. They found mortality rates jumped to over 12 deaths per 100,000 people in 2022, nearly double the rate in 1999. More concerning is most of that jump came during the COVID-19 pandemic. The study found women and younger adults also saw significant increases in alcohol-associated liver disease death rates. Researchers say there's an urgent need for targeted interventions to help reduce alcohol consumption and alcohol-related death rates. Verl Johansson, KSL News Radio.
Researchers at Utah State University say that students who drink and vape as social activities have more health problems. Lead author of the study, Assistant Professor Zhang Sheng-O, says
many college students use e-cigarettes to have fun with friends, but it's just this social use often overlap with drinking alcohol.
He says when drinking and using e-cigarettes with other students have a harder time recognizing when the alcohol is becoming a problem. O says he hopes universities and colleges will review their substance use policies and have more conversations with their students about stress management and safe social activities. Your money at this moment, the markets are down. Dow is down 851 points, S&P down 76, and the NASDAQ is off 280. Traffic and weather together now, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotions. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have some unusual slowdowns on northbound I-15, and a lot of that is from 2100 south to the 6 South exit. No problem reported. We'll keep an eye on it. But we have had an issue on the 201 westbound on the 21st South Freeway. That remains closed just east of SR 202 due to an earlier crash. Don't miss the 91st Annual Ute Stampede Rodeo with Extreme Bulls on July 9th through 12th. Athletes and explosive entertainment combined with music, food, and multiple days of family fun. Visit UtestampedeRodeo.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And another warm day here in Utah. The high expected to get about 95, and the trend will continue through the weekend. Father's Day is looking like it's going to get up to 98 degrees, and then more of the same next week with a slight dip into the high 80s on Tuesday. Right now, it's 90 degrees and sunny from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. I want you to know that it's the little things that count. Any remodeler can say they treat customers right when it comes to siding, gutters, windows, and exteriors. It's hard to know for sure. If a contractor uses cheap generic nails instead of super grippy ridge shaft nails for your siding, would you even know? If they use cheap $4 caulk to install your new windows instead of paying $9 a tube for the good stuff, could you tell by looking? It all comes down to the details and trust. At RGS Exteriors, we only do things one way, the right way. We never cut corners. We never skimp on details. We never do less than the job requires. That's why we offer our industry's exclusive 10-year everything guarantee. And it's why we have the happiest customers. If you need any gutters, siding, or replacement windows, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsutah.com. That's 801-280-3110 or online at rgsutah.com.
Do you want to make your house more comfortable, more energy efficient, more valuable? Well, maybe it's time you took a look at your doors and windows. And there's nobody around who does doors and windows better than Peach Doors and Windows.
Improve the functionality of your home with custom replacement windows, entry doors, patio doors. Maybe you have a sunroom or you want a new custom front door and windows to maximize the beauty of your home. Peach offers flexible financing available to fit any budget. They've got expert installation, including fiberglass doors, which are their specialty, and they'll replace your windows with the highest energy efficiency rating.
And customer service is a top priority. It's the reason why they have so many 5-star reviews on Google. You can check it out for yourself. You can also check them out online at peachbuildingproducts.com. You can call for a free in-home estimate, 801-566-1255.
Or see them in person, 2940 South 300 West in Salt Lake City. They're open 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. Go check out their beautiful showroom. It's Peach Doors and Windows.
Welcome back to Midday. I'm Heather Peterson, in for Maria Shilaos. A roaring protest through the streets of Salt Lake City, hundreds gathering to show support for immigrants while condemning the Trump administration and ICE raids across the country. The protest, overall peaceful, but the mood, anger and frustration. Let's get right into the heart of the story with Midday executive producer Andy Cupp. He was there documenting the protest for KSL News Radio. Andy, what happened?
So, Heather, like you said, it was a peaceful protest overall, but the feeling among the crowd, one of anger with President Trump, Immigrations and Custom Enforcement, or ICE, and congressional leaders who protesters say are allowing this to happen. I showed up to Washington Square Park shortly after the protesting began. Hundreds of people from all different walks of life were there. Police say roughly 600 people in attendance. Many held signs condemning ICE, using a lot of expletives towards President Trump. Others holding signs supporting immigrants. A lot of Mexican flags flew through the crowd, along with several upside-down American flags. The protesters chanting throughout the event, passerbys honking in support. Others yelling expletives out of their car against the anti-ICE movement. I spoke with several protesters to find out why they were there. Jennifer said she felt compelled to be there to show support to others.
I'm here to support those who feel they don't have a voice during this crazy time of injustice towards people of color.
Tell me a little bit about your sign that you're holding here.
So my sign says, "Keep families together. My beautiful children were created with a hardworking immigrant." And I just want everyone to know that not every illegal immigrant here is a bad person, and they deserve a chance just like everybody else does for a better life.
What do you hope is the outcome after today, specifically here in Salt Lake?
Just to maintain a peaceful protest, that our legislature here in Utah can see that we want to be united as one, and he needs to join us.
Another protester, John, said he believes the Trump administration is breaking the law. He thinks ICE should be abolished.
I'm here to stand up for everybody's right for due process and freedom of speech in this country. ICE, they go in, they don't care who they're taking. If you're in their way, they'll take you and arrest you too. You cannot do that. Everybody deserves due process of law.
There was a lot of sentiment just like that I felt from folks there. They were frustrated with the way the administration is handling these deportations. Chrisanna was there with her dog holding a sign featuring a quote from Anne Frank.
I'm here in solidarity with the rest of my Salt Lakers and Utahns to protest the abduction of innocent people off the streets of LA and all across the country.
What do you hope to accomplish from this today, especially here in Salt Lake in particular?
I think, honestly, just to show that we're not going to back down. I think they're counting on everyone being afraid, and that's not... You got to stand up to a bully.
All right, and tell me a little bit about your sign that you have here, too.
This one, I found it online. It's a quote that's been going around that feels remarkably relevant to today, which is shocking because it's a quote from Anne Frank about people being snatched off the streets and families being torn apart and kids being without their parents.
Following a lively protest at Washington Square, the crowd took to State Street, marching northwards towards the state capitol. I didn't see a lot of police at the square itself, but as soon as the march began, I saw officers and police cruisers following the group up the hill.
Was the event entirely peaceful? Did you see any scuffles?
I didn't see any, but Salt Lake City Police spokesperson Brett Weisberg said that there were a few fights and just a couple cases of vandalism.
We did receive information of some property damage to a Tesla vehicle. We are continuing to investigate this. For the most part, this group of about 600 people have been mostly peaceful. There are a few agitators in the group who have tried to rile the group up. This group has appeared to remain mostly peaceful, which is something that we have been asking of this entire time.
I was actually called out to cover the protest, Heather, for KSL News Radio because a fight had broken out. But in the 10 minutes it took me to get there, those fights had broken up.
At this point, we're not aware of any serious injuries. We do know that there were some medical issues with people who were marching, and my understanding is that everyone is okay. Again, these are very rapidly unfolding situations. They're very fluid, and the Salt Lake City Police Department has a robust response to these situations. Again, our number one priority is to facilitate safe, peaceful, and lawful First Amendment activity.
Overall, there were a lot of people that showed up who braved the heat to take part in this protest.
All right, thank you, Andy. Yeah. KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas, who also hosts the new Inside Sources, said this morning there's a fine line between a peaceful protest and a violent one.
If you're encouraging people saying, turn that car over or punch that person or throw a rock at that police officer, then you're inciting, you're aiding, and you could be charged. If you're just peacefully protesting, even if you're chanting, even if you're making noise, that's not a crime.
Skorda says marching on a public street when you're blocking traffic, that can cause problems.
Let's say you're going to close a street, you're going to have a march, you're going to have a parade, you're closing down half of State Street. That's the kind of time when you'd want to go get a permit and make sure that you're in compliance with the law.
Salt Lake City Police Public Information Officer Brent Weisberg told Inside Sources that they prepared for this event in the best way they could.
Yeah, I think going into any time we have a large demonstration in the city where we know that there is a lot of passion and a lot of tension that we naturally have a lot of concern for it. And that concern is just for the overall public safety of the community members, the people who are going to be gathering to exercise their First Amendment rights. For us as a police department, we want to be able to facilitate safe, peaceful, and lawful events. And, although there were a few small incidents that occurred yesterday, overall, the event was very safe, very peaceful, and I think successful to the event organizers' opportunity to express their views.
Weisberg also said that police are on scene to help with medical issues, not just in case violence breaks out.
When there are large events, demonstrations, or any just event happening in the city during the summer months, that's something that people have to be aware of. And so we did see some of those medical issues. That's why we have our police officers, our public liaison officers who are out, along with our motor squad out there to, be that first responder in the event that there is a medical emergency. In fact, we had one incident where there were officers were escorting the group down 300 East, and they were flagged down for an unrelated medical issue from someone at a nearby apartment complex. So we were able to notify Gold Cross, and I think that's one of the things that, we have a really robust partnership with the public safety group here in Salt Lake City through fire, Gold Cross, ambulance. We were all working together. So as that information is coming in real time, it can move a little bit faster when we're having our officers being flagged down by somebody. They're on the radio notifying us in the command post. We can turn to our partners with fire and Gold Cross to say, we need you guys to go here, or we've moved the victim over here so it's a safe route, so we don't have, we're not putting anyone in potential danger for those incoming firefighters.
In the end, Weisberg says police are there to make sure people have the ability to voice their frustrations in a legal and safe way.
The role of our officers during those events is simple, is to facilitate safe movement of individuals and to make sure that individuals are having that opportunity to safely and lawfully exercise their First Amendment rights.
There is the possibility for additional protests throughout the area over ICE raids and President Trump over the next couple days. KSL will be there to cover it all, and we'll bring you the latest updates on air and online at kslnewsradio.com.
Your electric bill is going to be higher for summer, but not if you get new windows from Advanced Window Products. State-of-the-art double-pane windows and insulated frames, any style, any color, from a company that's been building them right here in Salt Lake City for 39 years. Not only are you buying local, but you're cutting out the middleman because they're the factory. You save 30, even 40% on your new windows, and you get a lifetime guarantee from a trusted local company. If there's a problem 5 years from now, they come right over and get things straight. And right now, you can save even more. If you call Advanced Windows for a quote, they'll give you an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Advanced Windows offers buy now, pay later. They have 60-month 0% financing. They always work out affordable payments, plus $2,500 off. So get your new windows for summer. Make the call now, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or you can go to advancedwindows.com.
Davis Technical College says commercial drivers are in high demand, and thanks to a few partnerships, they've been able to open a new driving range to better help train their student drivers. I talked about it with Linda Watts, Director of Programs at Davis Technical College. She explained what this development means for the school.
A driving range is where the student performs what is called a pre-trip exercise. They learn how to stop going. They're going at a certain speed, and then they need to stop within this 3-foot window. They learn how to parallel park, how to back up, and you need a range to be able to do that. And so for the last nearly 2 years, we were very fortunate to partner with Weber State University's Davis campus, where we used their parking lot. And so every day the students and our instructors would have to drive to that parking lot, set up the course, practice, take down the course, drive back over here. But with this range, the range is now closer to the classroom. which just increases the amount of time that the student is behind the wheel, actually practicing, those backing, the parallel parking, all of that pre-trip work.
She says this will better help them get the hours they need in a field that desperately needs more drivers.
There is a critical need for them. I did a little bit of research, and there's about 1,000 CDL jobs open in the state of Utah. And so that is critical, right? And then there's a high amount of current CDL drivers who will be retiring within the next 5 years. And so we want to make sure that their current positions will be filled with competent and safe CDL drivers. Another aspect with the workforce is when it comes to CDL drivers, it is called high yield. And what that means is that the income is stable. It provides sufficiently for a family. So just imagine that as well, that you can be a CDL driver that earns enough money to support your family and their needs. Most of our drivers just starting out are making at least $30 per hour, but that's typically the base, and it will just vary depending upon whether they're local drivers or over-the-road drivers as well.
Watts says at Davis Tech they have instructors with a wealth of experience on the matter, so they can train people who prefer to do local, consistent routes or those who want to do long cross-country trips, bringing the goods we need across the country. Coming up after the break, the latest on getting rid of pesky subscriptions. But first, we're going to get emergency traffic brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Ricky, what's going on?
We have a couple of problems on I-15. One is in Davis County. It's southbound I-15, and this is as you're approaching Farmington. It's been blocking traffic, and it's in that construction zone, so we're already seeing heavy delays up to the Kaysville Ponds. And then on northbound I-15 in Salt Lake County, a multi-vehicle crash. This is after 33rd South, and it is blocking 2 left lanes of traffic and starting to back traffic into Murray. Garden City, Utah, in beautiful Bear Lake, presents Little Texas on July 5th at Garden City Heritage Park. Games, live music, and a fireworks show, all free. Visit bearlake.org for details. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
When you are attempting any sort of task, you always want to do it as quickly and as efficiently as possible, and the same holds true for losing weight. I want to tell you about a program that has worked for me. It's called Salt Lake City Fat Loss, and the reason it's worked for me is it kept me motivated because I lost the weight very quickly. This program uses a simple combination of foods to help burn that stored fat quickly. There are no injections or surgeries, no medication, so there are no side effects, just that simple combination of foods. Plus, it's easy to follow with great resources to help keep you accountable. They have a great app. It gives you daily ideas of how to be successful and also how to make food that really tastes good. Because if you get bored with your food, of course, you're going to fall off that diet. Just go to slcfatloss.com to learn more or call them 801-450-1882. Wouldn't it be great to lose up to a pound per day? Go to slcfatloss.com, slcfatloss.com.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com/contests.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys. And I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
With Progressive Snapshot, you could save on auto insurance rates by driving safely, which is nice because you can just keep doing you. So keep on using that broken phone charger because it occasionally works. Keep quoting something you heard on a podcast as your own. Keep ignoring your sister's texts while you drive and after. And when baggage claim says, have a great trip, keep on saying, you too. And keep driving safely. And you could save with Snapshot from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents. Surcharge possible for unsafe driving.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
This is Midday. I'm Heather Peterson, in for Maria Shilaos, who's on vacation. A new Utah law is in effect designed to keep people from getting hit with automatic renewals for subscription services they may have forgotten about. KSL TV's Matt Gephardt reports.
10-year-old Alice is learning to play the piano with the help of an app. When her parents signed up for it, her mom had a choice. Either pay $29.99 per month or pay way less, only $13 per month, but she had to commit to a full year. That's how they get you. New data from CNET finds that subscription creep is on the rise, with the average U.S. adult spending $205 in unused subscriptions annually.
We get busy.
Utah Representative Cheryl Acton wants to change that.
When 42% of the population is experiencing accidental automatic renewals, that adds up.
Acton sponsored a bill here in Utah that says if a company is going to automatically renew a subscription that's 45 days or longer, they must give you a heads up. That advance notice needs to include the renewal date, how much you're going to be charged, and most importantly, how you can cancel. Same goes for free trials. You must be warned at least 3 days before it ends so you're not surprised by any charges.
You must notify, and you must notify how to cancel.
Acton's bill has passed and is now in effect. CNET says that between autopay, free trials, and third-party platforms making subscriptions so easy to start, it can be very easy to forget about them. Their data shows the top 3 subscription services are video streaming, e-commerce websites, and music. But ironically, about 6% of us subscribe to financial apps. You know, the types of apps that are actually supposed to help us stay on top of things like subscriptions for which we are paying.
Almost everyone has experienced the automatic renewal of a subscription service.
The Federal Trade Commission may be setting more regulations at a national level, but have been delayed by businesses pushing back. Electric vehicle production set to rise, even with the possibility that the EV tax credits will be removed. ABC's Mike Dubusky has more in today's Tech Trends.
As the future of the electric vehicle tax credit remains in doubt, Hyundai is spinning up domestic EV production.
Hyundai built this big facility called the Meta plant just outside of Savannah, Georgia, and it's a gigantic, world-class, brand-new, state-of-the-art EV facility full of robots. It's the most modern car factory I've ever seen in my career.
Patrick George is the editor-in-chief of Inside EVs. He says the Korean automaker is planning to build more than just electric vehicles at the new facility.
Their argument is we can kind of tailor what we build in America to demand. If we see more demand for EVs, we can build those cars. If we see more demand for hybrids, we can adjust the playbook and make hybrids there.
He says it comes amid a broader uncertainty over how the Trump administration plans to approach green vehicles.
There's a way that this current moment is going to reward flexibility for a lot of these car companies, I think.
With Tech Trends, I'm Mike Dubusky, ABC News.
In the next hour of Midday, a look at why the Cache County Sheriff's Office says it needs more money to retain employees.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Developing news in Israel following several missile strikes from Iran.
We saw a lot of smoke on the ground in Tel Aviv after one of those interceptions. It looked like one of those either interceptors or one of the missiles themselves. That smoke right there, where that landed and caused that smoke, I'm sure is of some concern right now.
The time is 2 o'clock on Friday, June 13th. It's midday. I'm Heather Peterson. Coming up, more details on the tense situation in the Middle East. Also this hour,
we would like the commission to reconsider based on the arguments that we've included in our request for reconsideration.
Rocky Mountain Power asking the state to reconsider their original rate hike proposal. But first, our top local stories. Actually, we're going to go first to developing news here. We're hearing now from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who released a video speaking directly to the people of Iran.
In the past 24 hours, we've taken out top military commanders, senior nuclear scientists, the Islamic regime's most significant enrichment facility, and a large portion of its ballistic missile arsenal. More is on the way.
Netanyahu urged Iranian civilians to stand up against their government. It was just over an hour ago that Iran launched hundreds of missiles into Tel Aviv. Here's ABC's chief global correspondent Martha Raddatz.
What you really have to watch for in these coming days is how serious Iran's assault is on Israel. Israel will respond in kind and even worse. So whatever the Iranians do right now, whatever they do in the coming days will be met with massive force by the Israelis. So the Iranians have to take that into consideration.
ABC News is now reporting that 21 people have been injured and firefighters are battling impacts in several areas. Here's ABC News military analyst, fighter pilot, and retired Marine Corps Colonel Stephen Gaynord.
The thing that concerns me most here is that earlier today, the Israelis said that if the Iranians attacked civil sites, population areas in Israel, that Israel will take out all of the oil and gas infrastructure in Iran. That is the lifeblood of the Iranian economy. It is the only thing that the Iranian economy has.
The U.S. military is now helping to intercept Iranian missiles and drones as they arrive in Israel. Other national stories KSL is following. Officials have found 2 flight data recorders in the Indian plane crash. These details could shed light on why the Boeing Dreamliner plowed into a medical school shortly after takeoff this week. ABC's James Longman reports.
This is the first fatal crash involving a Boeing Dreamliner since it entered service in 2011. Aviation experts raising concerns about the engines after seeing the nose of the plane pointed up in the moments before disaster, pointing to an issue of thrust. Boeing has told ABC News they're ready to support the investigation. It's crucial information from the black box that will shed light on how this could have happened.
241 people on board died and 1 passenger survived. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 769 points, the S&P down 68, and the NASDAQ down 255. Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Ricky Meese.
And emergency traffic continues in Davis County, where we have a crash on southbound I-15 near Park Lane, Farmington. Right lanes are blocked, and we're seeing heavy delays into Layton. Then the accident we had northbound I-15 just after 33rd South. That's been moved out of traffic. Residual delays remain back to 4500 South. When you need the financial products and services for every stage of life, Cyprus Credit Union is there for whatever the future holds. Visit cypruscu.com today. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Those hot temperatures continue over the next couple days. We're expected to reach 95 today, and you're going to want to cool off on Father's Day. It's going to be 98 degrees. We take a little dip as we get into Tuesday, about 89 by then. Right now, it's 91 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day. Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest. Hear key news updates and traffic reports. Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car. KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Keeping your engines healthy means protecting them in season and out. Experts trust Stable to do that. And third-party testing confirms it. Stable is the industry leader in preventing fuel-related issues, no matter if you use it in your car, boat, or outdoor power equipment. In season or out, at every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. For years now, I've been telling you about Connecticut soft water systems that use 2/3 less salt than the others. But I've never told you exactly how they do that. Well, there are several ways, so consider this as part one in a series. Most of the softeners out there use a finicky, hard-to-adjust computer to guesstimate when to cycle, and it errs on the side of cycling too often, which means it'll burn through way too much salt way too soon. Connecticut is different. It has an all-mechanical system that measures the water precisely. No computer, no guesstimating, so it cycles only when needed. The result, Connecticut delivers perfectly soft water 24/7 using minimal salt. So why not save your lower back from carrying the 3 bags of salt when all you need is 1? Call Northern Utah's authorized Connecticut dealer, Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake. Call them now, 801-576-8600, or log on to softwaterutah.com and tell them Doug sent you.
Sure, humans can be a little weird at times, but take it from me, I'm a dog. And a person is about the best thing that can happen to a shelter pet. So if you want to learn how you can be that person, get down to your local pet shelter or visit theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
You're listening to Midday. I'm Heather Peterson. Maria Shilaos has the day off. Rocky Mountain Power now asking the Utah Public Service Commission to reconsider their earlier approval of a smaller rate hike than originally asked for. You'll recall that the power company asked the state for permission to raise rates more than 28% over the course of 2 years. They changed their proposal to 14% over 1 year, but the Public Utility Commission only approved a 4.7 rate increase. Now, Rocky Mountain Power is asking for a reconsideration. Dave Eskelson with Rocky Mountain Power speaking to Midday executive producer Andy Cupp.
It's important, at least for us, to emphasize that in between the initial filing and where the case settled when the hearing started, it had been reduced already to about 14% because of certain rulings that the commission made prior to that. So the company's request, as it was adjudicated in hearings, was about 14%.
Okay, and then
the state only approved a 4.7. So now Rocky Mountain Power is going back to appeal, correct?
Right. The official term is a request for reconsideration. And so this is a petition that we make to the commission asking them to either reconsider based on our arguments that we filed or conduct a rehearing. And the commission will either grant that or not.
Is there any kind of a timeline that you know of on when they will hear your reconsideration?
Generally, timelines on these procedures at the end of a rate case are 30 days.
Okay. And you know, I know we had talked in the past when we've talked about the initial rate hike request, some of the reasons for why Rocky Mountain Power was making this request. I'm kind of curious, with the Division of Public Utilities kind of saying, no, we're not going to let you hike the rate up as much. What kind of financial situation does that put Rocky Mountain Power in then if you aren't able to get this full 14% rate hike?
Yeah, well, the original request, you know, that was about 28.7, I think, was actually a request that would have been spread over 2 years. And the commission said, you know, we're not going to do that. And so we revised our filing over, you know, for a rate increase over 1 year, and that was the 14%. The commission has pretty wide discretion to disallow certain costs, and that's the argument that we're now having. Those costs that were part of this case had a lot to do with the vastly increased cost of insurance liability premiums. And we believe we made a good case for that, and we would like the commission to reconsider that. And the other main portion of the case involved wildfire mitigation measures. Now, these are capital intensive measures for things like overhead conductor and covered conductor, undergrounding, and other measures to harden our system against wildfire risk. And so we would like the commission to reconsider based on the arguments that we've included in our request for reconsideration.
Eskelsen says that if the commission rejects their request for reconsideration, the next step would be the Utah Supreme Court. Midday continues in just 60 seconds.
The Salt Lake Chamber is Utah's voice for business. Okay, that sounds great, but what does it really mean? Well, as Utah's largest and longest-standing business association, they support and champion community prosperity throughout the state. And if you're in business, well, that's a very good thing for you. Be sure to listen to the Chamber's Speaking on Business, weekdays at 7:20, 11:55, and 5:20 p.m. on KSL News Radio.
For nearly 70 years, Les Olson IT has been the trusted name for businesses. From state-of-the-art printers and copiers to managed IT services, we have the solutions you need to stay ahead in today's world. And now Les Olson IT is trusted and licensed in Utah for security systems, for technology that helps you work smarter. Les Olson IT, providing solutions that empower your business.
Les Olson IT.
The Cache County Sheriff is looking to give his deputies a raise. Sheriff Chad Jensen told the County Council this week that he's been hemorrhaging employees who are leaving his department to go to others that pay more. Sheriff Jensen says he's lost 12 people since March who are going to other agencies like Box Elder County Sheriff's Office or Ogden City Police.
On the exit interviews and talking to them why some of the reasons they're leaving, some of them are getting up to a $7 an hour increase in their pay. Some of the agencies don't participate in Social Security, so not that I don't know why you wouldn't want to submit to that, but as a young person, that's on top of the pay, there's another $300 or $400 a month that they get. not paying any insurance premiums, no URS contributions by the employees. Basically, they have take-home cars they can take about anywhere they choose to live. A couple agencies are giving $7,500 cash signing bonuses, and one agency is giving $10,000 retention payments at $2,500 a month for 4 months. So that's the exit interviews and some of the reasons why folks are leaving.
So to combat that, he presented a proposal to the council for a pay raise.
To keep us somewhere in the range of the current market that we're already in, and to kind of compete with what we're losing people to, I would propose a 10% increase would take our starting wage to $30.92 an hour. With that, that's 10%. That's to keep us in market line with our step. The 10% would be for the deputies. To keep it so we don't get compression between the sergeants and lieutenants and deputies, to be a 3% for the sergeants and a 3% for the lieutenants. The sergeants, just because of how the market and the budget worked last year, they got a pretty big jump last year, the sergeants did. So I don't say 3% to keep them artificially low. I think some of them, just because of how it works, some of them got a 6 and 7% in January that kept them pretty high in their market ranges.
Sheriff Jensen says it would cost the county an additional $1.5 million a year, but he explained that as they start to look at next year's budget, they need to prioritize the people who live and work in Cache County.
To me, the wages are most important. Our employees are the most important thing that our sheriff's office has. Without the employees, the cars don't matter, the jail doesn't matter, investigations doesn't matter, school resource doesn't matter. We can't do any of that without the employees that we have, and we have fantastic employees. I don't blame employees who are chasing dollars. A person's got to do what they got to do to what's best for their family, and I don't know all the reasons behind their decisions. But we've lost 12 people. We still have 200, and those 200 are willing to stay here, to make a living here, to want to work here, and those are the ones that my priority. They're the ones that I'm always going to be concerned about. My biggest priority are the people who want to make a career at Cache Valley and stay here for the next 25 or 30 years as they chomp through their career. I do understand. It's a lot of money, and I get it, and I was hoping at some point we could not have to talk about wages year after year. I was hoping things would have somewhat plateaued. We saw a little bit of difference last year, at least on paper, what they reported. We didn't see the big jumps. That's why when compensation committee, we didn't see those big, huge ask and increases, because we were pretty stable in the market that we were compared to. But just the 5 agencies closest around us, $5, $6, $7 an hour more at any spot than we're sitting right now.
No action was taken on the proposal this week, but the council members agreed to look at it as they discuss the budget starting around August or September. The latest on the United States Senator wrestled to the ground and put in handcuffs during a press conference with the Secretary of Homeland Security. That's coming up in a few minutes. But first, emergency traffic brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Ricky?
This is in Davis County. A crash on southbound I-15 just exiting the construction by Park Lane in Farmington, still blocking a right lane. And we do have delays back to Gentile Street in Layton. Also, a KSL texter chiming in with a new traffic tip. It's northbound 5600 West, an accident at California Avenue. I just saw the ambulance pull up in the traffic cams. Keep an eye out for that and use caution getting through that intersection. Fill up your bucket list in Box Elder County. History, recreation, and wildlife. And excellent dining and shopping await you. Learn more at visitboxeldercounty.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
The kind of inside scoop you only get from KSL. Editor of Utah Policy, Holly Richardson, a.k.a. Holly on the Hill, and KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas. Greg and Holly make up the new Inside Sources, 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
Behold, 'tis I, Queen Trustworth, sentinel for seniors amongst the Knights of Scamelot, here to give thee warning. Scams and fraud are on the rise in Utah, and seniors are especially under siege. Be wary of unsolicited texts, phone calls, and salespeople asking for personal or financial information. And never send money to someone thou hast only met online. If thou hast doubts, talk to someone thou trusteth and get educated at scams.utah.gov.
We have 5 kids, 2 dogs, and we've bought 4 houses in the last 12 years. So our realtors helped us through the complexities of buying a house, the legalities of different property rights, right-of-ways, building concerns, or even ordinances, right?
If we were to try to do this on our own, we would have made a lot of financial mistakes. The realtor is now part of our family. She's who helps our family get to wherever our next chapter is.
Discover how a realtor can make a real difference at myrealtorstory.com.
This is Secret Clinical dominating extra stinky stress sweat. And this is regular deodorant. Secret Clinical in a heat wave.
Oh, what a beautiful day.
This is regular deodorant.
Ugh, I can't.
Secret Clinical with workout sweat.
Let's run another marathon.
And regular deodorant.
How much more?
Secret is the GOAT. Because nothing fights sweat better.
Stay fresher under pressure.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Summertime is a fun time for everyone, and ARUP Blood Services is here to help the community stay safe and enjoy the season. Did you know the need for blood increases significantly during the summer months when people become more active with hiking, boating, blading, skateboarding, and ARUP is always there to help when someone is in need. That means the hospitals need you even more for blood donations. ARUP Blood Services is here locally in Utah to help. Donating with ARUP Blood Services ensures 100% of your donation stays here in Utah for patients that need it most. Can you spare 20 or 30 minutes? You can be entered to win a $1,500 Disney gift card, good for theme parks, restaurants, resorts, and shopping. One lucky donor will win, plus other great incentives throughout the month. Plan to stop by the Sandy Donor Center on June 14th to see the AirMed helicopter between 10 and 1 p.m. Visit utahblood.org for details, donation times, and more. That's utahblood.org.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. With honest conversations that let them know what we expect. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be shared with friends or family. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
You're listening to Midday. I'm Heather Peterson, filling in for Maria Shilaos. The dramatic handcuffing of Senator Alex Padilla from California caught on camera yesterday. ABC's Brad Milkey and Matt Rivers discussed.
When President Trump decided to call in the National Guard and then active Marines into Los Angeles to respond to protests, the big issue was that he did so without a request from California's governor. Generally, that's always been the standard. In fact, Trump himself mentioned this standard to George Stephanopoulos back in 2020.
We have to go by the laws. We can't move in the National Guard. I can call insurrection, but there's no reason to ever do that, even in a Portland case. We can't call in the National Guard unless we're requested by a governor.
Well, last night, a federal judge seemed to agree with 2020 Trump. In a judicial order, he ruled the president had illegally federalized the National Guard. He said the quote-unquote rebellion cited by the White House's justification did not actually meet the standard of a rebellion. He also said local forces, which have now made hundreds of arrests over the last couple days, have proven sufficient to keep order without the help of the feds. And so he has ordered the federal government return control of the National Guard back over to Governor Gavin Newsom.
He is not a monarch, he is not a king, and he should stop acting like one.
Overnight, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals put the ruling on pause while they consider it. And when it comes to the Trump administration claiming extraordinary authority, that wasn't the only flashpoint of the day.
People should know that there are millions of people that are in this city illegally,
Yesterday, at a federal building in Los Angeles, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem was set to give a press conference about the arrests and deportations that have set off so many of these protests when an elected California leader, a U.S. senator, showed up to ask a question of his own. Before anyone even knew what had happened, Senator Alex Padilla was on the ground in handcuffs by order of FBI agents.
We will hold this administration accountable.
ABC's Matt Rivers is in Los Angeles right now. In fact, Matt, you were in the building when this all went down. How did this unfold yesterday?
Yeah, I was literally in a front row seat to all of this. I was sat right in front of the DHS secretary as she was giving this press conference.
We are staying here to liberate this city from the socialist and the burdensome leadership that this governor and that this mayor have placed on this country and what they have tried to insert into this city. So I want to say thank you to every single person that has...
At first, I just thought this was a protester coming in, and then I realized, oh, this is not just a protester. This is one of 100 sitting U.S. senators.
Sir, hands up, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary.
He was definitely trying to talk about the fact that ICE was arresting people without criminal records, but he got maybe a dozen words out before a member of the security detail in the room forcibly stopped him, pushed him back.
Because the fact of the matter is, a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your hands off.
He's then brought out into the hallway. He's put on the ground. He's handcuffed.
On the ground. On the ground. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you don't my hands, go ahead, put them behind my back.
All right. Cool. Other hand. Lay flat. Lay flat. Other hand, sir. Other hand.
His office then puts out this video where you can see all of this happening. It's quite striking. Certainly not something any of us were expecting.
Well, yeah, let's be clear, Matt. Like, a sitting U.S. senator is about as high-ranking as you can be in our federal government. Like, they are people that run a co-equal branch of government, like a president or cabinet member, like a Supreme Court justice. In fact, Padilla said, I was in the federal building because I was taking federal meetings, and then I wanted to go and make my point. He ends up not arrested, but handcuffed and basically thrown to the ground. What has the reaction been?
Well, as you might imagine, the response has been a political one from both sides. On the one side, you've got Senator Padilla himself coming out talking to reporters.
If this is how this administration responds to a senator with a question, if this is how the Department of Homeland Security responds to a senator with a question, you can only imagine what they're doing to farm workers, to cooks, to day laborers.
On the other hand, you've got the DHS secretary along with senior leadership in the FBI saying that they were acting entirely within their rights because at first it wasn't known that he was a U.S. senator. He didn't identify himself.
Oh, you know what? I don't even know the senator. He did not request a meeting with me or to speak with me. So when I leave here, I'll have a conversation with him.
He did take, as I saw, several steps toward the DHS secretary, and clearly an officer in the room was acting in a protective capacity. I think the real question, the controversy here, is how he was treated after he was identified as a U.S. senator. It seems like...
I was going to say, like, if she sees him and goes like, oh, that's Alex Padilla, the senator for the state I'm in, you'd think she could have said that, hey, guys, hands off, or something like that.
Exactly. And, even if, let's just give her the benefit of the doubt, she didn't recognize him. Well, he made it clear who he was, and they continued to do what they did. The FBI defending the actions. Padilla was not charged. The two of them actually met. Secretary Noem and Senator Padilla did meet for 10 or 15 minutes. I actually saw them in a room briefly together as I was leaving the building. They did talk things out, apparently. But, both sides are reacting to this.
This is not what democracies do.
The executive branch doing this to our colleagues? This is a pattern and a practice. This is not an isolated incident.
Of course, we've heard from sitting Democratic Congress people. We've heard from Governor Newsom here, a Democrat in California. We're going to hear from Republicans.
The Democrat Party is on the wrong side. They are defending lawbreakers, and now they are acting like lawbreakers themselves.
Both sides going to turn this into a political issue. Stop me if you've heard that one before.
Yeah, I was going to say, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson said that Padilla should actually be censured over all this because, in his words, he was so out of line for interrupting this press conference. Matt, so much of this comes back to the deportations, the types of deportations that are happening. We talked yesterday about kind of politics of protests and of immigration for Democrats. What are the politics for Republicans right now? Because President Trump also seems like he's kind of increasingly on a tightrope as well.
Yeah, at times, because President Trump is President Trump, it kind of feels like maybe he's immune from the political calculations that so many other people make. But President Trump came out yesterday and said,
our farmers are being hurt badly by, they have very good workers. They've worked for them for 20 years.
Talking about carving out exemptions for undocumented migrants working in the agricultural and the hospitality industries.
So we're going to have an order on that pretty soon, I think. We can't do that to our farmers, and leisure too, hotels.
That is quite indicative because he knows a lot of those people are working in red states, are employed by red-leaning businesses. And it's a good reminder that, the migrants that are here, many of whom are undocumented, are a part of the fabric of the economy of this country in many different states, blue states and red states alike. And what you're seeing with President Trump making that, supposed change to the policy here is kind of an admission that he, too, is susceptible to the political calculations that Democrats are. There's no question about it, even if it feels somewhat surprising for Trump himself to admit that so openly.
Yeah, and when we're talking about farming, especially, it's a huge percentage. I think it's almost half of American farm laborers, day laborers, are undocumented migrants, it's been estimated. Matt Rivers, they're in L.A. right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
That was ABC's Brad Milkey and Matt Rivers. It's 2:30 midday at KSL News Radio. Hello, I'm Heather Peterson. Some of the stories we're watching this hour: a Utahn in Israel explaining what's happening right now in the country, and women in the military not being reimbursed for travel expenses incurred for abortions and other reproductive health care. Also, KSL traffic. Ricky?
We do have leftover delays southbound I-15 from Layton into Farmington due to the earlier crash by Park Lane. That crash is cleared. All lanes are now open. Heather?
A warm day, just like it's been for the last couple. KSL's top local stories in just 1 minute. First, the latest from ABC News.
This is a special report from ABC News. I'm Michelle Franzen. Iran is vowing further retaliation after launching dozens of ballistic missiles toward Israel. It follows Israel's strikes inside Iran, killing top military leaders and scientists and targeting nuclear facilities. The U.S. says it assisted Israel in intercepting missiles. ABC's Martha Raddatz says it appears some missiles hit.
We saw a lot of smoke on the ground in Tel Aviv after one of those interceptions. It looked like one of those either interceptors or one of the missiles themselves. That smoke right there, where that landed and caused that smoke, I'm sure is of some concern right now.
Israel's emergency services say at least 41 people have been injured. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in a video message addressing Iranian residents.
Brave people of Iran, your light will defeat the darkness. I'm with you. The people of Israel are with you.
The White House says President Trump and Netanyahu spoke today. This is ABC News.
Now to KSL's top local stories. Salt Lake City police say the protest was mostly peaceful last night, though officers did have to break up multiple fights. KSL legal analyst and host of Inside Sources, Greg Skordas, says the right to protest is protected by the First Amendment, but the city or county can set limitations. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla explains.
Just being part of a protest does not warrant any charges, even if it becomes violent. But KSL legal analyst and host of Inside Sources, Greg Skordas, says if the protest is going to have a lot of people involved, it's best to let the city or county know beforehand.
Let's say you're going to close a street, you're going to have a march, you're going to have a parade, you're closing down half of State Street. That's the kind of time when you'd want to go get a permit and make sure that you're in compliance with the law.
Skordas adds that it's not illegal to not get a permit, but it helps prevent the protest from getting out of hand.
There is a possibility for charges to come down on individuals that vandalize, get violent, or even encourage others to get violent. Police say a man is lucky to be okay after his helicopter crashed trying to take off from the Sky Park Airport in Woods Cross this morning. A video of the crash shared with KSL shows the chopper's propeller clipping a hangar door as it was taking off, sending debris flying all over the place. Christian Galvin barely missed getting hit by the flying metal as he watched what happened.
It went on his side. It kind of hit and spin. It spun like a 360. And then it hit the floor and on his side.
Police say the pilot was able to walk away with just a few scratches and said everyone is very lucky this did not turn out worse. The NTSB is now taking over the investigation. The Cache County Sheriff says he's losing deputies to surrounding agencies because they pay more, and he wants the county council to approve a pay raise. KSL News Radio's Randall Jepson has more.
Sheriff Chad Jensen told the council this week he can tweak his budget to give pay raises now, but the council is going to have to allocate more money for future years. The Cache Valley Daily reports the department recently lost 7 deputies. 4 others, they're thinking about leaving, and there's a couple of retirements approaching.
The council has not yet made a decision on the sheriff's request. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 769 points, the S&P down 68, and the NASDAQ down 255, all closing sharply lower, and oil prices spiking as the markets are reeling from that escalating Israel-Iran conflict. Now we'll go to traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Ricky, what's going on?
Well, the crash has been cleared. Southbound I-15 in Farmington, all lanes pretty much open, and traffic coming out of that construction area still heavy. We have residual delays through Kaysville and into Layton. And then in Salt Lake County, some busy traffic northbound I-15 between South Salt Lake and downtown. Also, some southbound slowing on I-15 approaching 7200 South. No matter the weather, your feet can feel fantastic. Find the Good Feet location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Another hot day here in Utah. The high expected to get up to 95 today, and the trend continues throughout the weekend. Father's Day looks like it's going to get up to 98. Right now, it's 92 and sunny in Salt Lake City from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
It's back, and you will be too. June 12th through the 14th at the Cache County Fairgrounds, it's the Summerfest Arts Fair, celebrating its 41st anniversary, featuring local and regional artists and musicians. You're going to love this, like you loved it before. Art, painting, ceramics, music, food. Summerfest Arts Fair is loaded with all the things that you and the family love the most. Then get set for an amazing lineup of musicians, featuring headliners the Lonely Hearts Club Band, The Last Wild Buffalo, and Music City Groove. Plus, enjoy other regional musicians like the Highline Drifters and Fry Pan Band. This is where local, regional, and national artists come together to celebrate the arts. So discover 165 artist booths, 38 performing groups, and 30 food vendors, along with a plein air art competition. Get the full details at logansummerfest.org. logansummerfest.org. Summerfest Arts Fair, June 12th through the 14th at the Cache County Fairgrounds.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
You're listening to Midday. I'm Heather Peterson. Maria Shilaos is off today. We're continuing to track the developing situation in Israel following a retaliatory launch of hundreds of missiles from Iran, air raid sirens blaring through the country. University of Utah law professor Amos Gioria is in Israel right now. He shared what he's experiencing and the expectations of what could happen next.
Out of the shelter, we live outside Jerusalem. Per the warnings from the Home Front Command, we spent 10 minutes, which is what you're supposed to do in the shelter with our family. There indeed were 100 drones, as I understand it, fired from Iran. Seems to be, yes, intercepted, but there also seems to be, reports are unclear, some kind of a hit or at least clouds over Tel Aviv. I think waiting for more information. I don't think it's a huge surprise as clear that the Iranians would do, additional attacks in response to the initial attack. How many days this will go forward? We're going to clearly in a I don't know if I would say hour to hour mode, but as I say, we're just now in the shelter for 10 minutes, and safe to assume that will there be more air raid sirens during the night? I don't know, but we did exactly what you're supposed to do, which is go to the shelter, and which is in our house. And we were there for 10 minutes with our family.
Earlier this morning, before Iran fired back, Giora told Utah's Morning News that this isn't the only thing the country has on its mind.
We're in many ways engaged in a seven-front war: Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, Palestinian terrorism, Jewish terrorism, and this. It is beyond complicated, and I would also think, from an American perspective, the question, for instance, would the Iranians hit American assets here in the Middle East?
Giora says he doesn't want the world to lose sight of what he says is the more important part of the issue, the hostages still held by Hamas.
We have 53 hostages held in Gaza, and I think I can't emphasize enough how important it is to keep them front and center in whatever discussion there is about Iran. In no way should the attack on Iran in any way be a distraction, but for many of us is the fundamental issue, which is the hostages.
This situation will continue to evolve, and we'll continue to track it here on air and online at kslnewsradio.com. In other news, women in the military will not be reimbursed for their travel expenses if they need to travel for reproductive health care, including abortions. The House Appropriations Committee took up the issue yesterday as they looked at next year's defense spending bill. Minnesota Representative Betty McCollum proposed the amendment. She says this used to be the case with the previous administrations, but President Trump rescinded it. Now Democrats want it back on the budget.
46% of the women that are stationed in states where they cannot pay for themselves their reproductive care. That amounts to approximately 80,000 women in the armed services who are based in installations that have limited or banned reproductive health care. 80,000 women. The states of Texas and Florida are home to several military installations, and both states have enacted severe abortion restrictions. In some states, women have suffered and died. In many cases, these states' laws are even impacting women who are experiencing miscarriage, and it's been documented. So I want our service members to be focused on executing their mission safely and not worrying about receiving the health care that they and their families deserve. And that's precisely why the Department of Defense instituted this policy under the previous administration.
Other Democratic members of Congress stood up in favor of the amendment because it would have also covered travel for things like fertility treatments and other reproductive health care, not just abortions. Utah Congresswoman Celeste Malloy was among those who stood up in opposition of the proposal, though, saying the Hyde Amendment has been a long-standing principle in Congress that Americans should not have to pay for abortions.
The Hyde Amendment is a clear federal ban on abortion funding, except in the cases of rape, incest, and life of the mother. It's been in place every appropriation cycle for 40 years. And I've been here. I've heard a lot of talk about partisanship and how this should not be a partisan bill. But this is a completely partisan amendment, whereas the Hyde Amendment has been a bipartisan consensus for 4 decades. The 2022 DOD policies an end run around the Hyde Amendment via travel, leave, and reimbursement policy. But in 1980, SCOTUS in Harris v. McRae said the government isn't obligated to fund or facilitate abortions. And this is a policy that clearly facilitates abortions. And it's not about reproductive care for women. It's about using the ability as the federal government to tax and spend to force Americans to pay for something that they're morally opposed to. Post the Dobbs decision, federal policy is neutrality, not federal imposition. The federal government must exercise restraint and respect diverse moral values of American people. This amendment is not in the spirit of that neutrality, not in the spirit of the Dobbs decision or the Hyde Amendment. My colleague's amendment not only violates that neutrality, but it touches on something else we've been talking about a lot here, Article 1 authority. This would allow the DOD to make federal abortion policy that isn't in keeping with what Congress has done through the Hyde Amendment. And that's a path that I don't think we should start to go down. Federal abortion policy should be uniform, like it has been for 40 years, through bipartisan consensus in the Hyde Amendment. Abortions, including abortion travel or enhanced leave policies designed to facilitate abortions, have no place in this bill. And for that reason, Mr. Chair, I rise in opposition to the amendment.
The committee took a vote and ultimately voted down the proposal. That means that service members will continue to have to come out of pocket to travel if they're seeking an abortion or other reproductive health care services. Midday continues in just 1 minute.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. The other night, I was there for opening night of 12 Angry Men at Hale Center Theater. When Mark Dietlein introduced the opening night performance, he said, boy, you know, we rarely present something like this at Hale Center Theater. It is a true drama, and Mark was absolutely right. The angst you feel, the prejudice you feel, the despair almost, and even the heartbreak of a father concerned about a son, it all goes into the deliberation of this jury that is going to decide whether a man lives or dies. And unfolding on the stage, we see what one person can do. 12 Angry Men, you've got to see it at Hale Center Theater. Wonderful performances are underway right now at Hale Center Theater. Get your tickets. Go to hct.org. And don't miss 12 Angry Men at Hale Center Theater. It is a true drama. Go to hct.org.
Welcome back to Midday. Let's take a look at some health-related news now. College students who vape are more likely to deal with alcohol-related problems later in life. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis has the details.
Utah State University Assistant Professor Zhengsheng Oh and lead author of the study says students who vape tend to drink more alcohol than others, and it could be because it's a social activity.
Which also make it harder for students to notice when they're drinking. It's becoming problematic behavior.
Oh says he hopes this study can help colleges promote better stress management and social activities, which could help students cut down on e-cigarette use. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
Doctors are encouraging people to drink less alcohol after finding out alcohol-related deaths have gone up significantly in recent years. Here's KSL News Radio's Verl Johansson.
According to a study in the Journal of the American Medical Association, researchers studied alcohol-associated liver disease death rates from 1999 to 2022. They found mortality rates jumped to over 12 deaths per 100,000 people in 2022, nearly double the rate in 1999. More concerning is most of that jump came during the COVID-19 pandemic. The study found women and younger adults also saw significant increases in alcohol-associated liver disease death rates. Researchers say there's an urgent need for targeted interventions to help reduce alcohol consumption and alcohol-related death rates. Verl Johansson, KSL News Radio.
And moms are getting older, not me, of course. But ABC's Sherry Preston with more on the steadily climbing age of mothers.
The CDC says in a new report the average age of all mothers giving birth in the United States is now just shy of 30 years old, up from almost 29 years old in 2016. First-time moms are, on average, 27 and a half, also up from 2016. One striking statistic has to do with the age difference between moms in metro areas versus rural areas. In big cities, the average age of moms giving birth is 28 and a half years old. In rural areas, women give birth, on average, 4 years younger than that. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
It's not quite a wild goose chase, but it's close. State wildlife staff are on the waters of the Great Salt Lake trying to track the goose population. KSL 5 TV's Brian Carlson has the story.
Zipping through the Great Salt Lake, state wildlife staff are out looking for geese.
So far this week, we've banded 1,350.
Rich Hansen is the state geese banding coordinator with the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources. His crew out on the water rounding up hundreds of Canadian geese before they regrow their flight feathers to better know the migratory patterns and manage the hunting season.
We can look at the numbers and see how many birds are harvested every year and make sure that we don't see a sharp increase that affects the overall population.
Each one has to be caught, caged, and tagged to track the population. But first, you have to find them. On the water to get the geese, you got to have an eagle eye.
they like to dive and try and swim and get away. Well, on that driver's seat, I'm standing up pretty high and I can see those birds swimming under the water.
For those out in front trying to grab the geese, it's a reward.
There's not a lot of jobs out there where the first thing you're doing in the morning is on the front of an airboat boat and grabbing geese off the front of it.
Once tagged, rewarding to see where they end up.
Our birds will go anywhere from Saskatchewan all the way down to Southern California and everywhere in between.
That was KSL 5 TV's Brian Carlson. Time to don your kilt and your tartans. The Utah Scottish Festival coming up after the break. But first, it's KSL Traffic brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Ricky?
We do have some leftover delays from the earlier crash in Farmington on southbound I-15. As you go, most of the delays are going through Layton and breaking up quickly from Gentile Street through Kaysville and Farmington. Northbound I-15 in Salt Lake County, a crash blocking a right lane of travel. This is at the collector ramp, and it is starting to cause a little bit of backup in the area. But you do have plenty of room to get around it. It's just after 90th South. Celebrate freedom in Paris, Idaho. 4th of July Chuck Wagon Breakfast and Parade. On the 5th, a 5K run, junior rodeo, craft vendor fair, and free concert. Visit bearlake.org for details. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness, and Utah isn't immune.
With nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or some other form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe. KSL has teamed with 988 Utah, the free suicide and crisis lifeline, to bring you hope and help you thrive.
If you or a loved one is experiencing a mental health crisis, call or text 988.
Because a healthy mind matters.
Tay-Tay was a typical girl that loved pink, singing, and all kinds of animals. At 3 years old, she tumbled off a horse and received a traumatic brain injury. Her family prayed for a miracle, and when they realized their daughter would not survive, they made the decision to donate her organs. Because of her donation, 4 other people received her organs and tissue, allowing others to live. Go to donorconnect.life and read about what it takes to become a donor. Did you know many people think that they're too old and not in good enough health to be a donor? Anyone can be a donor. If you were told that it could save a life for someone close to you, or even a stranger, would you please donate? Finding out more on why you should become a donor is pretty easy. DonorConnect.life can walk you through the process and what it takes to simply sign up. Check yes to become a donor when you renew your driver's license. Give hope, heal life. DonorConnect.life.
If you've got a gas-powered engine, keep it running like new at every fill-up. Stable in-season protection is your engine's preventative medicine, cleaning and protecting the entire fuel system in season. In outdoor power equipment, prevent gum and varnish buildup that could cause a rough or non-running engine. For cars and trucks, increase fuel efficiency and power by removing deposits, ensuring your engine's long-term health. Stable outperforms the competition in independent lab testing. So at every fill-up, start with Stable.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome back to Midday. I'm Heather Peterson in for Maria Shilaos. If you're in the mood to break out your kilt, this weekend is the perfect weekend to do it. Elisa Scott with the Utah Scottish Association has the reason why.
Our event is the Utah Scottish Festival and Highland Games. We're doing it June 13th through 15th at the Utah State Fair Park in Salt Lake City. It is our 50th running of this event, so we're super excited. We have all of your Scottish culture favorites and from traditional Highland athletics all the way to the Highland dancing, Celtic music, just everything you know and love about Scottish culture, or maybe don't know that you love yet.
Midday executive producer Andy Cupp spoke to Elisa to learn more about this tartan-filled bagpipe playing event.
What are some of the specific activities that will be going on?
So we have the first ever Highland Dancing Utah Scottish Festival Open Championship happening this year, which is super exciting because it is our first international Highland dance competition. So we have competitors coming in from everywhere, mostly Canada and the US, but it's international. So we can have competitors come in from anywhere in the world to compete at our festival. Then we also have the Highland Games and Highland Athletics. We're hosting Women's Pro Nationals this year. So we have world record-setting athletes coming in, and it's very possible that we may have more world records set this year as well. And along with that, we've got the National Sheaf Toss Championship. So we'll have professionals, both men and women, who are competing for records, including some current world record holders who will be competing at our games. And those Highland Athletics events include things like the caber toss, the weight over bar, the sheaf toss, everything that looks really cool. It's about throwing really heavy things and trying to make them go farther. We've got 17 bands signed up this year for our band competition, which that will mean we have over 120 people playing bagpipes and drums. And so we have something called the masked bands at our various ceremonies. And that means all of those members will be playing all at once. And it's so loud, it's so majestic and beautiful. And it's something you don't want to miss. Now,
One of the things that I think is really interesting about Scottish culture, and, full transparency, I am Scottish heritage. I'm part of the McFarlane clan. This notion, though, of clans. Can you briefly describe what a clan is in Scottish culture?
A clan is essentially a family unit, and it's a little bit more than your traditional family unit. It's not like your secular family and your mother, father, grandfather, all of that. It is essentially your entire community. It's your family, but a lot of greater community is built around that as well. And so we have our clan tents who come each year, and they educate our people who are coming in about their clans, whether they know their clan or not. You can come in, you can do some family heritage investigating and seeing if you have your clan there, or if you might be a part of a clan and didn't know it either.
This year marks the 50th anniversary of the festival and Highland Games. So how have they changed during that time?
It's changed quite a bit. We've grown exponentially in those 50 years. Obviously, I wasn't a part of the original running of it, but they started small out at Murray Park, and they had a couple of tents, a couple of pipe bands, maybe even just one. I'm not entirely sure. But they started small, and it just grew out of a want to celebrate this culture here in Utah, because there is a large number of people in Utah who have Scottish heritage. And the first people who started this festival just cared about that so deeply that they wanted to do something to honor that. And so they started this festival, and then our organization, the Utah Scottish Association, came out of that as well. And through the years, we've had places, we've been at Fort Douglas, we've been at Thanksgiving Point, and now we're at the Utah State Fair Park. And we've been able to add more Highland athletics, more Highland dancing, more bands, and just grow our festival to what it is today. And we fully intend to keep growing and keep expanding and make it one of the largest festivals in the region if we can.
The Utah Scottish Festival kicks off tonight. You can get tickets and more information at utahscots.org. Thank you so much for joining me today here on Midday. Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News is next with the latest updates on the evolving situation in Israel following missile strikes from Iran. I'm Heather Peterson. Have a great weekend.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon, 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. We're at 92 degrees. KSL's top story. It could have been a lot worse. A helicopter on takeoff crashed in Woods Cross this morning. KSL News Radio's Adam Small describes what happened.
3 people working inside one of the Sky Park Airport buildings watched as the chopper's propeller clipped an open hangar door and came crashing down.
It went on its side. It kind of hit and spin. It spun like a 360, and then it hit the floor and on its side.
Christian Galvin filmed the whole thing on video from about 30 to 40 yards away.
Metal went everywhere. Debris went everywhere.
And the only thing standing between them, his coworkers, and that flying debris was a singular door. Had that not been there?
I don't know. I don't want to think about it.
After the dust settled, Galvin and his colleagues rushed to check on the man inside the helicopter.
The pilot was in